So with the Monster Manual coming out next month, the Dungeons and Dragons YouTube channel has come out with a video showcasing some of the changes they've made to Monstrosities. So let's go ahead and see what they have to say.
So let's talk about Monstrosities in D&D. This is a collection of some of the most famous D&D monsters in this category. Like this includes owlbear still.
Yeah.
Okay.
This includes lycanthropy.
Yeah. Rust monsters.
Which is new, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that's the big change. So you have rust monsters, which the art is fantastic because you're seeing how much we hate rust monsters in that illustration. Lycanthropy, let's talk about that. Let's talk about werewolves. Let's talk about wares.
So before we dive in there, I think just for if people are wondering what the heck is this category?
Yeah, it's because it's got
broad.
variety.
So the monstrosity category is the category for classic monsters, the chimera, the hydra, things that, in the storybook of, if it's not a dragon, specifically, or one of the other very distinctive creature types, it's like that classic monster is a monstrosity. And one of the few things that unites them is many of them were either crafted or distorted by magic.
Yeah.
So as you go through, you'll see that often the one thread that they have in common is like this creature, like with the owl bear was, a wizard did it.
Yeah.
Or this used to be another type of creature, but because of a curse, a plunging into this other plane of existence or something else, it became this other creature. And
Like a lot of mutations, like almost like magical radiation in some cases, or experiments.
Or mythical creatures like the guardians of the gods. I mean, this is the category for like Medusas, for hydras, for basilisks, like those sort of mythological creatures, things that are animals with the special abilities, that are mashups of creatures, or something that could be a real creature, but just from
this is all information we already knew about monstrosities just from looking at the old books.
With that big vision for monstrosities, that this is the category of monster that was shaped by magic, whether again the magic of the gods or the magic of a mortal, or somehow mutated by magic. That is one of the big reasons why we moved were creatures into this category. We previously had them as humanoids, and that was, as we reconsidered the creature types of everything in the monster manual, we realized that was a funny choice because sure, creatures all started as humanoids, but they're not humanoids anymore. And we did that not only for story reasons, but for mechanical reasons, because there are a number of things in the game that specifically affect only humanoids, and we did not want those things affecting were creatures. Because were creatures, part of what's special about them is they're now strange.
They're other.
They're other. Part of often a lot of classic were creature stories is one of the first hints that something.
Okay, so I don't know. In most games, the humanoid classification comes based off of an overall description of the monster. Is it bipedal? It does, like walks on two legs. It uses its arms like arms. It's four paws like hands. Does it have a human-like intelligence, or at least a human-shaped brain, so it could potentially have human-like intelligence? So by those definitions, by that actual definition of a humanoid monster, lichens are still humanoid. Don't get me wrong, they're humanoid monstrosities, so they could go into either classification in the monster manual. But to just call them outright not humanoid anymore is a wild misclassification, in my opinion. I'm very okay with them being in the monstrosity classification in the monster manual, but, I mean, credit where it's due, they are, in fact, humanoid. So, saying that they're no longer humanoid makes it a lot more difficult. It takes that descriptor out of DM's vocabulary when somebody sees the silhouette of a werewolf, right? I don't know. It seems wrong to me, but I do kind of understand where they're coming from. It just, I wildly disagree.
Is off is the person might look human or some other
Which
type
makes
of
them humanoid.
but things are weird around them.
Yeah, things don't apply. Like a dog, classically growling person. A whole person maybe not doing what it should be doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they now are in this category, and they have all been redesigned. One of the big changes.
Come on,
for all
that
of
were
the
tiger's
were
wearing
creatures
clothes while walking around like a
is
human. It's
the
humanoid.
curse that they apply is now inside each stat block. It used to be that the were creatures would apply what was called the curse of lycanthropy, and then you would need to go look elsewhere in the monster manual to find out what the heck that did.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that anymore.
Oh, that's good.
Each were creature stat block tells you what happens if you are the unfortunate recipient of that curse. And that is a common theme in the book where we looked for places to make the DM's life easier by folding information that used to exist outside the stat block into the stat block. We did the same thing with the best lair actions. Many of those have, with creatures that have lairs, those actions are now inside those creatures' stat blocks, often with the requirement that the creature be in the lair to use that action. So again, with the were creatures, DMs, you don't have to go hunting to find out, well, what happens if this person got bit by the werewolf?
Well, that's good.
All the information you need for that is in the stat block.
I feel like monstrosities have existed in mythology for so long.
Now, as far as were monsters go, I'm a huge fan of were monsters. However, when it comes to werewolves, I'm kind of the same mindset as I am when it comes to vampires, which is they're an overused trope. They're fun, they're cool sometimes, but they are vastly overused. And with a huge variety of different were creatures, there's no need to fixate on just werewolves anymore. I don't know if they brought all of the were creatures back in this particular monster manual, but they did show a picture of a were tiger. So there's werewolves, there's were tigers. They showed were bears. I know there's were sharks, were rats. They showed a picture of the were rat. So at the very least, we've got werewolves, were tigers, were bears, and were rats in this monster manual. So there's no need to fixate on werewolves anymore. You want to use a were creature, that's great, that's fantastic. You can pick from a bunch of different were creatures, and as long as they fit setting-wise, like, in my opinion, if your adventures are in a large, busy city, a were rat would be more commonplace than a werewolf, so you could use a were rat instead, and you still get the feeling of using a were monster without overusing the werewolf unnecessarily, unlike with the vampires, which are just vampires and thus overused, and we should avoid them, in my opinion, for the next decade. Not outright, just a little bit. But that's a hill I stand alone on, and I understand that.
Simply because that's the easiest thing to do early on in our culture is to, this monster, let's slap them together and see how it works.
Right.
Well, there's definitely so many mythical creatures in this, but there's so many creatures that are mythic in a D&D sense as well, that are just legendary D&D creatures, like mimics, rust monsters, sturges. Like, all of these are so, if you rattle off what's a D&D monster, you're going to say dragon. But past dragon, some of these monsters are like some of the oldest and some of the most storied D&D monsters. What there are, I mean, the mimic with just like, here's a chest,
Mimics are cool.
but it's going to eat you, comes out of this category.
And we talked about this before, but the art really thoroughly explains it doesn't just have to be a chest.
Yes.
Like, turning anything into a mimic is incredibly fun. You can turn a house into a mimic, a closet, an outhouse.
Absolutely.
It doesn't. I turned a boat once into a mimic for fun.
I'm going to sit here for a moment in existential dread of the outhouse mimic.
Yeah.
I generally don't use
It's not good.
outhouses, so
It's literally not a good way to go.
Shame on you, sir.
He's a monster. It's okay.
That is one of the things where one of the challenges of creative, like being a DM and like having that sort of creative breadth, or like a mimic can be anything. That's sort of paralyzing. That's just sort of like, wow, anything. And you just sort of get stuck there in many cases. This was a case where, for the Mimic, I love this particular page of the monster manual, not just because it gives you the Mimic, which is just great and a ton of fun, but then the art for it. We wanted to show you the Mimic as chest, but then in that piece you'll see the Mimic as chair, as portrait, as this, as that, as the other thing. And then even in...
And every single one of those gold coins can be mimics as well, if you really want to traumatize your players. That is a room of mimics. In fact, the room itself is a mimic. Congratulations. Your party is now dead. They're being digested by a mimic that's also digesting other mimics. Yeah, mimics are terrifying. They're incredibly fun to use, and they're terrifying. Use them responsibly. Or don't, I don't care.
The narrative text, we describe to you, okay, a mimic can turn into these things, but let's just give you a list of just sort of like, here's some things a mimic might turn into. And like some of them are quirky, some of them are fun, some of them are funny, but then some of them are sort of terrifying. We really hope to, now that we've sort of got some of these idea starters to DMs, that DMs will be like, yeah, I like that, that, and that. But wouldn't this be messed up?
People are also going to see some monsters similar to the were creatures that used to be in other categories that have also moved over to the monstrosity category. And so, for instance, Quaggoths.
Okay, yeah, it's a monstrosity.
Used to be humanoids, even though
they're still humanoid, but they're also
a distorted
monstrosities.
version.
Very distorted, yeah.
And so now Quaggoths are rightly in the monstrosity category, and the base Quaggoth has been joined by the Quaggoth Thonot. This is another example of where we took something that was a suggested variant in the 2014 Monster Manual and turned it into a brand new stat block here. You'll even find Kenku. The Kenku stat block in the Monster Manual is also now in the Monstrosity.
I'm not 100% sure how I feel about Kenkus becoming monstrosities. I mean, I guess they're monstrosities the same way as like a werewolf is a monstrosity. They're humanoid. They're very humanoid. They're intelligent. Intelligent. They're intelligent enough that they can be playable characters, playable races. But like, I don't know. I guess the monstrosity classification fits still, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that
category, because again, this is the category for things that used to be something else and were cursed or transformed into this current place. Now, there are a few other creatures in the book that also used to be something else and got transformed, but are in other categories because of the specific origin involved. Here I'm thinking specifically of gnolls, where gnolls now are in the fiend category.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Rather than in the monstrosity category. And so you will see a number of creatures where they're in this category where their story and their creature type now make more sense. And, as is the case throughout the book, and that, like I described with the Quaggoth, where before there was just one, there's now two. Like another example of this in the monstrosity category is the cockatrice. Before there was just the wee little cockatrice.
Yeah.
Well, we also wanted a higher CR and more terrifying one that isn't chicken size. And so now we have the cockatrice regent, which is quite large and can wreck you.
That's fair.
And so they're, you know, again, with the Axebeak, we have the regular Axebeak, but we also have a giant Axebeak. You're going to have a lot of fun options to play with as you look in this category of classic monsters.
I still remember Chris realizing as he was looking through the book, oh, one of the most powerful petrifying effects in the Monster Manual now comes out of this giant-sized cockatrice.
Yes.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
This also includes like some fan favorites like the Doppelganger Displacer
Yes.
Beast.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about the Displacer Beast that is like so beloved? I mean, it even
The
made it
Displacer
into
Beast-
the movie.
The Displacer Beast is the best, the coolest monster in any monster manual But I am biased. It is my favorite monster. It is so cool. It looks cool. It's dangerous. It's deadly. It can create a copy of itself, and it's just adorable. It's a cat with, with magic. 6 legs, and I mean I could do without the tentacles, but they serve their purpose, which is casting the illusion. Like, the Displacer Beast is cool. There's no two ways around that, and anybody who disagrees with me is just wrong. You're welcome to your opinions, but just know that if you disagree with the Displacer Beast being the coolest monster in any monster manual, your opinion is incorrect. You're welcome to it, but it's incorrect. It's cool.
It's also one of the monsters that have been in the game since the beginning. And you mentioned this earlier, Wes, that many of the monsters in this category have been in the game since the first edition monster manual. And in fact, I bet if we went through the different creature type categories, with the exception of, maybe like dragons and giants, yep. Most of those creatures have also been in there since the first edition monster manual. But I bet the monstrosity category it's in the running at least, as having among the most creatures that go all the way back to the first monster manual. You're going to see, as you go through the list, I mean, the harpy is in this category. So many classic monsters, not only from D&D, but from real-world folklore, are here in this category. All of them also tuned up, like we have done with, dragons, undead, and all of the other creature types, with new functionality, ways that we could also make the monsters easier to use in play. Even, we mentioned the rust monster earlier because of, the art showing it doing what it does, which no one wants to have done to their stuff, to have it rusted away. But even the rust monster's functionality has, again, been tuned up to make it a bit easier for the DM to use and play.
This also has some of the biggest heavy hitters in D&D. We've got the Tarrasque is a monstrosity. The Kraken is a monstrosity.
And the Tarrasque is the highest CR creature in the book.
Yeah.
And the
Tarrasque is also very cool. Not as cool as the Displacer Beast, but very, very cool. It's a very close second. We love to hate the Tarrasque, and a lot of people have tried to come up with ways to cheese a Tarrasque fight. Those ways don't work. They don't. What people fail to account for in those, my level 1 Aarakocra can beat a Tarrasque because it can fly. It can fly. It can fly. And yeah, the Tarrasque doesn't have a huge amount of range. But you know what it can do? It can throw rocks. And by rock, of course, I mean giant house-sized boulders, because it's huge, it's strong, it's got 32 strength last time I looked. Could be wrong, I might be off by a couple, but it can throw things. It has ranged attacks just because they're not inherently built into its stat block in the monsters manual doesn't mean it can't attack from range. So a lot of these ways to cheese the Tarrasque, to beat the Tarrasque with a level 1 character, they don't work. They don't. They're cute and they're fun to listen to and they're a little funny, but for a seasoned D&D player or a seasoned dungeon master, they're just cringy because we know they don't work, And if I remember correctly from the first video that they did on their monster manual, they've changed the things so that people will stop even attempting it. Because nothing is more heartbreaking than having a TPK because you had a player at your table think that they could cheese a Tarrasque because they saw it on TikTok or they saw it on YouTube Shorts. I know you all know the content creator I'm talking about. It's wrong. It won't work. Don't do it. Please. Please. For your own good, don't do it.
Tarrasque and the Kraken are both titans. We talked in our overview video for the book that there are more titans in the book, but the monstrosity category is the sort of home category for some of the most classic titans, which makes sense because, again, a titan is a creature that has been shaped or created by godly magic.
I mean, this includes our Fey spiders, our griffins, like you said, the harpy, the hook horror, which I've always hated.
Hook horrors
in
are
a
fun
nice
too.
way. The tricrine, which I always loved.
Umber Hulks are in there.
Umber Hulks are in here. Yuan-Ti, like it's probably one of the more diversified categories of monsters in D&D.
Yeah.
But it makes sense for all of these to be here. There's a primeval owlbear. Is that new?
That's brand new.
Yeah.
Tell me about the primeval owlbear.
So the primeval owlbear, in some ways, could be the mascot for the monstrosity.
No, it can't.
Because
No, it can't.
If it was a football team.
yes, because we've
Taras.
taken the owlbear,
Yeah.
which already could be the mascot for the monstrosity
'Cause it's
creature
cute.
type. And what we wanted was an owlbear that was more powerful so that you could meet owlbears at higher CRs. But then we also had some fun where in our initial design of the primeval owlbear, which is a CR7 owlbear, we had given it a sort of glide functionality so that unlike a regular owlbear, it could actually like jump off out of a tree or a cliff and sort of glide down to safety,
Terrifying.
almost with a feather fall like quality. But as we developed the monster, we realized we could actually get the same functionality of it can glide down from a height by giving it a fly speed. But then we thought, wouldn't it be just a delight to give a creature a fly speed of 5 feet? and so the primeval owlbear is the banner creature for anyone
Stupidity?
who's just learned
Silliness?
to fly. So this is the owlbear that is
So sad.
That is sad and adorably flapping its wings, and so yes, with its 5-foot fly speed.
It's a huge monstrosity, so it's a big guy. It's not going to go fast.
Don't laugh for long. As soon as those feet
'cause it's
hit
coming.
ground.
Oh, absolutely.
So this fly speed is obviously not for most tactical purposes.
Yeah.
And this was on purpose because this was not designed to be a creature that's flying around the battlefield. No, it's largely there for story reasons that, if it needs to leap out of, off a cliff or out of a tree and like to halt its fall with some flight, this creature can do that. And if it hilariously wants to fly a great distance, yes, it can. And our joke has been that, yes, if for some reason
So, just so you know, if it's got a 5-foot fly speed and it jumps out of a tree, let's say 30 feet away from the back line of your adventurers, that's going to take it, 6 turns to get over them? But if none of them explicitly say that they're looking up at all during their turn, then they do not look up. They do not see this thing coming, and 6 turns later, it's directly above them. It's a giant monstrosity, and it plummets from the sky and potentially kills them. Just for thought.
a herd of primeval owlbears wanted to fly long distance. The guards,
like buffalo going over a cliff.
yes, but the guards in the watchtower would see, oh my gosh, there's something coming on the horizon. You come back a week later, you look through your spyglass again.
It's still on its way.
It does not seem to have gotten any closer.
Still terrifying though.
And if those guards aren't paying attention on the top of that watchtower,
Yeah.
it can get them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I actually love that. And this includes purple worms, which I always have a fondness for.
Absolutely.
Do
Purple
they
worms
still
are
poop
underrated.
gems?
Pooped. Let's not get into the details of what is passing.
What does it poop?
What you do in your campaign is completely up to you. You are the DM.
You and your players, sir.
We do not spend a lot of time on the scatological details of the monsters in the book. We leave that for your pleasure.
Just checking.
And you absolutely can still end up inside a purple worm.
100%. So maybe you're players.
And that might be the players may be the poop.
Yes.
And we've got bullets and we've got bullet pup.
Yes. We wanted to have a smaller bullet that was
It's adorable.
speedier, and vaguely cute, but also terrifying. And that's
just
led to us
adorable.
creating the Boulette pup.
This is kind of a theme, actually, in this monster manual. There's a little bit, because there's parts where we talked, we just had the dragon video come out, and people argued against this concept. We said, like, some of these wormlings are not cute, and people are like, no, still cute. Deadly, but cute.
Yeah, adorable.
And that's the new kind of category that we're seeing emerge here.
Yeah, the Boulette
will
pup,
actively melt your face
adorable.
off, but also cute.
Yes. Well, it's also reflected in the name, because we went back and forth on what do we call the little Boulettes, because it's like, we could do juvenile.
I don't know why he's trying to make that sound French. It's not Boulette. Nobody's ever called it Boulette. This is the first time I've ever heard anyone call it Boulette. Bullet or Boulette, but not Boulette. I had to draw attention to that because I thought it was weird. But also, the Boulette pups are so adorable. There's nothing terrifying about them. They're so adorable. I'm going to use a handful of them in my next campaign once I have this book. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. But they are adorable.
An Boulette or whatever have you. But we decided to riff off of the land shark idea, where it's just like, all right, well, what do
Jeff
they
the land
call
shark? Okay.
young sharks? We looked it up, and sure enough,
Pups.
a young shark is called a pup.
Yep.
And there we go.
And it can eat you.
And it can eat you. And it's a shark.
And I guess one of the most iconic is the Drider. The Drider is included in this category as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because again, it follows the meta story of creatures that have been created or transformed by magic. And a Drider is an elf who has been distorted by the magic of Lolth into its new form. And
Let's not muddy the waters a little bit here. I've already done a lore short on Driders. They are drow elves specifically, not just any elf, drow elves specifically. And on top of that, they're not just any drow elf that Lolth decided, I want you to be a Drider. They're drow elves that already worshipped Lolth, that had disappointed her in some way, so she turned them into Driders. It's not just any elf. That's wildly incorrect to just say, oh, they're just elves that Lolth turned into spies. No. They are drow elves that worship Lolth. That is, if they're going to come out with lore for each individual monster, they have to stick to that lore. They have to keep to that lore when they update their books. It's only right.
the Drider has been redesigned. We have given the Drider a number of new abilities.
Because they weren't dangerous enough.
The Drider is now going to be terrifying.
They were already
both
terrifying.
up close and at range with some new magical abilities.
I really do hate Driders, though. Like, there's a human body, a human half on top of a spider, just, like, it makes me ick right now.
Yeah, that's the point.
I've been dealing with these monsters for, like, 30 years. I'm still very uncomfortable with Driders.
That's the point.
Yeah, what is the charm of Monstrosities, do you think?
They are storybook monsters.
Yeah.
And so many storybook monsters kind of get at this archetype of nature going sideways.
Yeah.
Things combining in ways that you would not expect, that feel unnatural, which can lead to both terrors, but also things that then once they're combined, it's like, oh, it's kind of cute. Which that's part of the charm of the owl bear, because many of us like bears and we like owls. And so the owl bear is like the Reese's peanut butter cup of monsters. It's two things I like. But then you have other monsters like the Drider, where it's a combination of a humanoid and a spider, and it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And so I think this category is ripe with that. The Yuan-Ti, which is also a type
he ain't
of
got no arms.
monstrosity, another scary one. Humanoids combined with snakes. And what's interesting is when you look at this category, and I think you can do a psychological study on this. Often the ones that are most terrifying are the ones that are part humanoid, because it feels closer to us. Whereas I think the ones where some of us have stuffies are more just, it's two types of animals put together, and I like both those kinds of animals. Like the griffin is an example of that.
You should be scared of an owlbear, but consistently party members will try to befriend an owlbear.
Well, I mean, but this goes to an interesting human thing in general. We should also, in life, all be terrified of simply bears.
Yeah.
But bears are
The
adorable.
human draw to having, like, giving children teddy bears. Like, we have as a species, a fascinating connection with certain animals that sometimes are animals that are super dangerous, and the bear is a great example of that. But yeah, for whatever.
But if not friend, why friend shape? Look, bears are adorable. Yeah, we should all be terrified of them. Yeah, they're 800 pounds of murder, but they're so adorable.
Reasons like, yeah, give me one. I mean, I have a stuffed owlbear at home.
You
do
seem
not
the type.
have a stuffed rider though. And
Really, you seem the type there too.
Now, it's a creature that's not in this book, but I do have to bring it up just because of the obsession, and this is a personal story, and maybe this won't be in this video, but my wife Megan's obsession with Spider Horse is ridiculous. It showed up in Dragon Magazine a long time ago. It was one of those random creatures, like they had a whole category of extra monstrosities. No one should have liked Spider Horse. She is obsessed with Spider Horse to the point I had to give her the Dragon Magazine edition, the original one. And even the person who invented him reached out because she kept on tweeting about Spider Horse so much. Like, that is the level of obsession people have with just combining.
Yes.
Because no one asked for us.
I missed that magazine, thankfully. Spider Horse. Okay. Somewhere at some point in time, we jumped off the cliff. And we stopped asking if something should be made and just decided to fucking make it. Spider Horse. Wow. I'm gonna have to look that up later. Anyway, that was the monstrosity video. They didn't talk too much in depth about changes that they were making, just small things here and there, which is fine. It was fun. I'm looking forward to the monster manual that comes out in February of 2025. I don't know why they're still calling it the 2024 monster manual in their videos, but I don't know. We're already in 2025 and these videos are just not coming out, so whatever. The changes of where monsters to monstrosities, fine, cool, whatever, makes sense. I'm still not on board with the Kenku. They didn't really talk too much about the changes to the owlbear. They just introduced the primeval owlbear, kind of. They didn't show us what it looks like, so I don't know. A flight speed of 5 is kind of like they just did it for the sillies. Like somebody took an edible and went, hey, you know it might be a good idea? 5-foot fly speed. No. They did it just for the sillies, and that's whatever, if that's what they want to do. It's dumb, but I can make it work to terrify my players. I'm fine with that. I don't know. I like the changes they made with the dragons, so I'm sure I'll like these changes too when I actually get to see the changes properly. But I'm excited, and I hope you guys are too. If you are, let me know. If there's a certain video, either by Dungeons and Dragons channel or any content creator in the D&D universe or the TTRPG universe that you want me to react to, you want me to go over, maybe break down what they're saying because they didn't explain it too well, or just you think it'd be funny, you let me know in the comments below, and I will definitely look into it. Otherwise, I am so close to finishing my video on Bastion, so it will be out soon, I promise. If I had to give a time, I'd say a couple days. Probably 4 days from now, my Bastion video will be out. If it's not, start blowing up my comment section, yelling at me, because it means I'm procrastinating again. If you had fun in this video, go and give me a like, comment so we can have a conversation down below, and if you want to see more of what I have to complain about, go ahead and subscribe, and I'd greatly appreciate it. But as always, thanks for watching.